Okay, so I'm working on the neck here, and I've been working on installing the locking nut for the Floyd, which I've never done before. So, I mean, it seemed pretty easy, right? Just drill a couple of holes and screw it on there. Well, the first issue I had when I put the nut on there, it seemed like the strings were going to be way too close to the fretboard, like too low. So the guy that made this neck, I don't think he did a great job on the shelf for the Floyd nut. The first thing, even before that, when I first got it, I noticed that it's like not quite even. Like he shaved a little bit too far down on this side. And there's a little tiny gap there, and you can see up at the top. You can see part of the neck on the top, right? So he made it a little bit too big and a tiny bit uneven, but you know, whatever, I just have to live with it. You know, this is a kind of do-it-yourself project, not expecting it to be perfect, I just want it to be good enough. So that was the first issue. I was like, do I take the Floyd the Floyd nut, sorry, and put it flush up here and then try to shim a little tiny piece of wood in there? But then I was really worried about, like, how am I gonna make a piece of wood that's that small? You know, I could try to sand and get something that small, but I just didn't think I'd be able to do it successfully. So I decided, you know what, I'll just put it flush right here. I mean, it's really close as far as the measurements go, so I don't think it's gonna have any issue with the intonation or anything. And then I think what I might do later, I don't know, depending on how I feel about it later, is I might tape off the paint here and tape off the nut and then get some black paint and a little tiny paintbrush and just paint that little strip black right there so it doesn't look like it's part of the neck or whatever. Okay, so back to the strings being too far down and too close to the neck. So what I did was I decided, all right, I'm gonna have to shim the Floyd nut. I'm gonna have to put something under the nut to raise it up a little bit. And then originally I was thinking, okay, I'll get some wood, I'll sand it down. But again, how am I gonna sand a piece of wood to that thin? I just don't think I could do it and have it be like level and flat. So I took some little strips of 120 grit sandpaper. I put 2 of them in there. So I basically cut them to be the size of the bottom of the nut. And there's 2 of them in there right now. So after I get everything else installed and I string it up and then I see how the action is, at least this way, if it's still too low, I can just take the nut off and put another piece of sandpaper in there. Or if it's too high, I can take out one of them. But I'm pretty sure it's not going to be too high because it still looks pretty low. I have a feeling I might have to put another one on there. So we'll see. All right, on to the next parts. I had to do some additional sanding in the pickup route for the single coil there because it was a really tight fit before I painted it, and because some of the paint went in the little pocket there, then the pickup wouldn't fit. So I had to sand the insides of that pocket so that the single coil would fit. Now it fits again. I also had to show you the back here. There's the neck plate. I also had to drill the holes for the control cavity cover because when they sent this to me, it had the cover but no screws and no holes. So that's not perfect. Like the screws don't fit perfectly down tight onto the cover like they should, but it's good enough. Alright, so here's my next issue. I've got the single coil pickup in there. It fits in, everything seems to be fine. Here's the route for the humbucker by the bridge. So you can see the 2 little holes, one there and one there that I drilled for the little screws that are going to hold the pickup down. I thought I had them in the right spot, but when I put the pickup in there and start screwing the screws down into the holes, the pickup is too far back this way and it's kind of pushing against the back, which is causing the pickup to tilt up like this. So what I'm going to be doing is putting a little bit of this little like bamboo stick in these holes with glue, making it level, of course. And then after it dries, then I have to re-drill the holes super carefully a tiny bit above where the current holes are. And then that'll move the pickup ever so slightly so that it won't be pushing against the back wall and then tilting the pickup when I screw it down in there. Fun stuff. Here's the next thing that I've installed today. And this is, I don't know what you call it, a trem stopper or a Floyd Rose stabilizer or something like that. So basically what this does is it kind of, you can use it to make the Floyd Rose to be like dive bomb only. So basically it won't go backwards. And not that I don't want to go backwards on the Floyd, but what I'm more worried about is like when my hand is resting on the Floyd and I'm playing, and as your hand is moving around, it kind of like can push it back, which will make like the notes go sharp and out of tune a little bit. So basically it's going to help with tuning stability. I've never used one before, never had one before, so we'll see how it goes. One thing that happened when I was drilling the holes for these screws, and the screws aren't super short. I mean, they're not super duper long, but they're longer than I expected. So these two holes, fine. When I drilled for these two holes, I barely drilled any wood and it went through the wood. And I thought, oh no, I just drilled through the top of the body. I was really freaked out for a second until I flipped it over and realized, no, that's the pickup cavity right there. So the holes went all the way through, but it's into the pickup cavity, which is under the pickup, so you can't see it anyway, so no big deal. Woo! Alright, here I am going to talk about the two holes down here that are drilled for the spring claw. Talking about this thing that attaches right there, and that's what the springs from the Floyd Rose attach to. So the problem that I had is, you can see there were two other holes there that I plugged and glued with some bamboo stick. The problem was when I attached everything, it's too high up. So with the screws in there and the claw and the springs attached, everything was above the edge of the cavity there. I could have lived with that because I'm not going to put a cover on it anyway, but it just kind of bugged me that everything was like sticking up beyond the surface of the back of the guitar. Now, why did that happen? I drilled the initial holes before I did the paint, of course, because I didn't want to mess up the paint drilling. But because of the size and the shape of the spring cavity here, I can't exactly like get my big ol' drill down in there without rubbing up against this part, or it's just, it doesn't fit. So the best angle that I could get with my drill, at least the way I did it, were those two holes, and they're just way too high up. And the angle wasn't good too. Like the angle was like much too angling down like that. So I plugged them, and then I was thinking like, oh, how am I going to make two new holes if I can't fit the drill in there? And I decided I'm not going to YouTube this. I'm kind of tired of like looking at YouTube videos for everything because there's just so many videos and it takes forever to find exactly what I'm looking for. So I decided I would hand drill them. As crazy as that sounds. So I put the drill bit into this handle here. I was able to connect it. This handle it doesn't go with the drill bit. It went with some like chiseling pieces. But luckily the drill bit is like the right size and it fit in there, and I was able to tighten it. So I basically went in here by hand and just turned it and turned it and turned it and turned it until the hole got deeper and deeper and deeper. So it took a little bit of time, but I really don't know how else I would have done it. There must be a quicker and easier way. Maybe they have smaller drills. I don't know. But anyway, that's the way I did it. And fingers crossed that it's going to work out. All right, there's the Floyd Rose in there. And there's the back with the springs. And the work continues. So, what I'm doing right now is I put a shim in the neck to tilt the neck angle ever so slightly. I've had to do that on like pretty much all my bolt-on necks to get the action really low without buzzing. So I think there are two things that I need to do on this, and one is the shim, and then the other other thing is that I'm gonna need to raise the bridge up a little bit. So I think with the shim and raising the bridge, I'll have the right angle and I'll be able to get that low action and get everything set up properly, I hope. The other thing I'm doing, since I had to take off the neck and loosen the strings, by the way, I still have the strings on there because I didn't want to take them off and ruin the strings. Anyway, the pickup, the humbucker pickup in the back here, I'm obviously probably not mounting it like the correct way like they would in a factory or a professional. So what's happening is when the pickup goes in there, because it's just got those two little screws holding it down, it's not totally stable. You can like wobble it back and forth a little bit. So I don't want it to do that. I want it to be just like set and straight and not tilt this way or tilt that way. So what I've done is I've cut all these little pieces of cardboard, okay, and I'm going to glue them together, and then they are going to go on the bottom of the pickup there, right in the middle. I cut them to fit in between the two holding things, whatever you call those. And then once hopefully you can see the flat part there. Once I screw down the pickup, then this part should be like down on the bottom of the body and kind of compressing up against the pickup, and I'm hoping that will kind of stabilize it. And I think cardboard will be good because it can be compressed or pushed down on, right? So hopefully I have enough in there, and we'll see how it goes. And I'm going to use the glue to glue them together. I originally had this piece to go in there. Actually, it goes this way. And I did have it in there. I originally installed it with those same, see the 4 holes where I put the screws? Those were the 4 holes for this guy. And it was in there. So 2 problems I had with this. Number 1, it's too high this way. And this spring right here was like pushing down on it. So it was kind of, the spring wasn't straight and flat like it should be. So that was one issue. And then the other issue is that the trem block was just pushing it. And because this has a spring, I guess it's not meant to just be completely stopped. It was just pushing it all the way down in, all the way back, and compressing the spring, and it wasn't really holding the Floyd in place anyway, that's the whole reason I bought it, was to turn the Floyd into like dive bomb only, because I knew I was going to have tuning issues and things like that, and I don't really care about using the Floyd too much. I just wanted to have it on the guitar. So anyway, this has kind of solved the problem that I was having yesterday. Is I'd try to tune it up, get the bridge plate like flush with the body so they were straight and even, and it would be that way, and then like 30 seconds later everything would be sharp and the bridge would not be flush, and then I'd tune it up again, get it flush, get it straight. 30 seconds later it's flat, or the bridge is like too far up, and I just could not get it to stay in place. So I put that little block in there, tighten these like nice and tight so it's really pulling on it, and now it stays in place, and tuning is going to be a much better situation.